I, me, you're you. This is a wrestling show. Oh. Apologies out there to Facebook and YouTube land. We've got some technical errors. I don't know what's going on. I give up. Let's start the show.
Oopsie, the worst rapper alive. Oops. Yeah. Big Mac's back on the mic like oops. Back on the horse, still jumping through hoops. The missing link in pink, I don't lip sync. Just to be clear, choking isn't my kink, but I do it anyway sometimes, I guess. Gotta laugh now, die later in my times of stress. I'm blessed, feeling good, charged up like a Hadouken.
Hey, there we go. We got it during the fucking intro. Hey, welcome to the Worst Wrestling Podcast. I am your host with the smoke, Jack Lucenay, and we are here. We're talking about Clash of the Castle, talking a little bit about Roman Reigns, but first we're talking about Liv Morgan and Dominic, Nick and Tom Mysterio, Tom and Nick. But yeah, the Liv Dom storyline, basically, just touching on that quickly from Monday Night Raw, which was thoroughly dominated by the Judgment Day and their overarching storyline through the entire show, because obviously you've got Damian Priest as the World Heavyweight Champion, set to take on Drew McIntyre in Scotland at Clash of the Castle. So that was the main thorough line of the show. That and their beef with Braun Strowman. There was some stuff mixed in, obviously, with Gable and Otis and Sami Zayn, which is awesome. I'm looking forward to that as well. But I think the hot and heavy storyline from Monday Night Raw that everybody has been talking about, very obviously, is Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. And I think, like everybody else, I'm tepidly waiting to see where this storyline is going. The only caveat, I would say, the only issue I've had with this story is, you know, you have Liv Morgan trying to take everything from Rhea Ripley. Like, she even took her job.
They took his dog. They broke it there. Took it there.
Took her job. But, you know, there's not building anybody else besides Liv Morgan, and obviously Rhea Ripley, when she comes back, is going to be getting that title back at some point. But I would love to see just, you know, another woman on the roster, get a kind of main event feud going with Liv Morgan in the meantime, because Rhea Ripley, to my knowledge, still going to be out for several months. So, you know, I don't want to just see this thing of like Liv floating with the championship. I definitely do want to see her get some meaningful title defenses in before Mommy comes back. Really build Rhea up as a strong champion. I do think that the angle of stealing Judgment Day is the right way to go about that. I don't know who exactly that they could pick. I mean, you know, they had her take it off of Becky Lynch. The problem is, you know, on the Raw women's roster, I would say the SmackDown women's roster, I think, is a bit stronger. Let's just double check Raw women's roster. Who could be even feasible, really? I mean, you've got Damage Control. Okay. I can see that. Io Sky coming after. Actually, that's interesting. I could see something like that where you have Io Sky. And then if you have Io Sky come and they are like you have Damage Control as a faction coming in to come after Liv Morgan. That kind of gives her a reason to need the backup from Judgment Day. So it would give her even the extra reason, to steal Judgment Day from Mommy. Hey, shout out to my guy, SC Romero, who's been on the show before, PPR show. Is this a repeat of Latino Heat in China with the Dom and Mommy saga? They're definitely doing their own spin on it, but that was 100% the idea. I think it's perfect that they're actually getting away from it now. They're definitely going to tease it still when Rhea comes back of, who's going to gain the control over Dom. But I think with all the stuff that goes on in real life, considering her relationship with Buddy Murphy and the fact that Dom is married. That's like I said, I just want to see a strong run for Liv before she has to lose it to Mommy, because we all know that's where the story ultimately ends. And then he also said, I feel like they're more focused on Liv rather than having any story around Bayley. Yeah, Bayley is definitely kind of in the aftermath right now. But I like Piper Niven and Chelsea Green and the story they're telling. I know it's really kind of short notice, but it's a very easy story to tell with Piper Niven getting her shot at Clash and having Chelsea Green kind of as a partner / almost manager figure. I love Chelsea Green, so I'm just always happy about that. He also said Asuka's hurt right now too. Yeah, but you still have Io, you still have Kairi Sane, and you still have Dakota Kai. So I just the fact that they are a solidified faction, you have Io as like the main contender. You could even have Kairi Sane maybe get a couple shots in. But yeah, I'm kind of I'm intrigued to see where they're gonna go with the Liv stuff. Before we get into really the crux of the show, which mostly happened on SmackDown, let's talk about the Forbidden Door. And my guy's already on it. They could bring in a feud with TNA possibly. Seems that more fights in line for TNA NXT. And yes, the big news. So there's Ethan Page coming over. Ethan Page was already, big in and of itself. And I thought that was interesting. But to me, that's like more of a signing of like he just was in AEW. And he is very, he had his career in TNA. So, but to have Jordynne Grace show up with that women's knockout title strapped, jacked, ready to rock, like, man, I love Jordynne Grace. She's honestly one of my favorite female wrestlers just in the game right now, regardless of what letters are on the banner of the company. Jordynne Grace is absolute money. I feel like they're going to go with her being the double champ. I think she's going to hold both titles. And that's what I'm hoping for, is for Jordynne Grace to get that Forbidden Door double title run of being both the NXT Women's Champion and the TNA Knockout Women's Champion. That would be insane. And obviously a first time in history. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do with the what is it? TNXT now? That's what they're calling, or is it NX? No, there it is. NXTNA. There's the acronym that they're using. So yeah, NXTNA. Excited to see some more crossover appeal. My guy, no way Ethan beats Trick. No way. Yeah, no. I think Trick definitely is going to hold that title for a while. People love Trick Williams. Whoop that Trick. So yeah. Oh man. And yeah, a feud of Rhea Ripley versus Jordynne Grace is what we need one day. Yeah, you could set that up for WrestleMania even. The only thing, and this is kind of actually a perfect lead into what I wanted to talk about. It's one of the main segments of the show. You saw it on the thumbnail. Is Roman Reigns already a babyface? Like, he didn't even have to do any work. He literally just dropped the title at WrestleMania, which we all thanked him for, basically, because I think the majority of people, even though there's obviously Roman Reigns fans out there that wanted him to just hold that title forever, I would say the majority of people understood and wanted to see Cody win that title. Not just for the fact of ending the historic title reign of, it felt like 4 years, but I think it was like 3.5 years. But also just, again, the backstory of Cody Rhodes and his family and what it means to the wrestling industry and what it means to the Rhodes family and what it means to Cody specific. Like, all of that plays into it. So I think the majority of people were ready for Roman Reigns to lose the title. We were not ready for this man to just up and disappear from the product for months on end following WrestleMania. And I think it's, it's been done beautifully. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And this B-rated version of the Bloodline that looks like it was ordered from Wish, it ain't it. And people are not feeling the Solo Sikoa run. I feel like with the Tonga boys, it's definitely like a watered down version of like when it was Roman and the Usos. And shout out to my guy here again saying Roman low-key was never a heel. People hated him so much that he was over with the crowd loving him. Yeah, but, and what I mean by when I say yeah, but, it's he still was booed. Like, they were buying into the act. Like, yes, people loved him, and there's, again, huge Roman Reigns stands. There's, like, in the IWC, there's, like, full accounts dedicated to Roman Reigns. So this isn't, it's not saying he wasn't popular, but he was clearly getting boos. He was getting over in the way that he needed to get over. I don't see any way he's getting booed when he comes back now. And when he comes back to retake the Bloodline and the head of the table, it's the only time this story to me is going to start cooking and get interesting again. I do like Paul Heyman's performance. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason, but it definitely feels like the Solo Sikoa Bloodline and this, this kind of threat that I'm supposed to feel that he in any way, shape, or form actually stands in the way of Roman Reigns when Roman returns. It's one. I feel like they want to do like a Sopranos-esque almost story of, I think they're gonna actually have Roman come back, and I would assume at first willingly Solo will step out of the way and then maybe betray him. I don't know that they go with it right away, but that is really when the story is going to get juicy. And it feels like until then, little bit spinning of the wheels in terms of the Bloodline story, but we've been here before. The Bloodline story has just been going on for so long that we've kind of had these beats before where there's, a little bit of stagnation before we get into the anticipation and the payoff of what ultimately has been the best story in wrestling for like the last 5 years. And again, shout out to my guy Essie Romero. Hey, if someone wants to join him in the comments, feel free. He's holding it down for us, so I super appreciate you. But thoughts on possible 3-way trios Bloodline match? So it'd be Roman and the Usos, Solo and the Tongas, and you'd have to bring in the Fatus. Okay, the one thing I will say, you run the danger of the NWO curse of, and I know that they're all family, they have the last names, I get it, but to a certain point, if I'm having to remember I gotta remember the Usos, the Tongas, the Fatus, you're almost, they have this problem sometimes in AEW. Actually, I was reading about it, interestingly enough, on Twitter. I wish I could shout out the account, but it's not coming to mind right now. But the idea that AEW fans are such ardent supporters that they just expect them to know the entire NJPW, CMLL, and AAA rosters, like every other roster that is not WWE basically. Like they expect them to just know the entire indie scene. Like they're catering to a very specific demographic of hardcore fans in a lot of their booking. And this is like one of those times where you can almost deviate into that if you're not careful about the presentation of the bloodline. Because again, if you get to the point where the bloodline just starts being like, and there's another Tonga, and there's another Fatu, and you get a Tonga, and you get a Fatu, and look under your chair, there's another Uso. Like, if it gets to that point, to me, there was a point where, this has already kind of jumped the shark. And I've said before, and I'll say again, I'm out on the current iteration of the story while they're just spinning their wheels with Solo. When Roman comes back, it will be interesting, and I'll be back in on it. But until then, I'm just like, it is what it is. It's still a big part of their show. I'm just not super into it right now. But again, they also run that risk of, having so many faction members that I just start losing track of guys and just not giving a shit anymore. That's basically what happened to the NWO. They had half the fucking WCW in there at one point. Before we get into the next main segment of the show, which was also on the thumbnail, I wanted to talk about actually the women's tag team division. I think so often overlooked in the WWE, but you know what? They're heating up as of late. Triple H got a little something cooking in this women's tag team division, to the point that if the women's tag team division in WWE actually takes off in any meaningful fashion, to me that is almost not a death knell, or even like it's almost like it's a missed opportunity, I feel like, for AEW. The fact that AEW could have so easily created, highlighted, and featured a women's tag team division. Again, what my only real big problem with AEW, and the reason that I often find myself commenting and lambasting AEW, is very specifically because they go against their own mantra, like that. You know what I mean? Like the mission statement of the company, like the reason they were created in the first place. And one of the biggest aspects of AEW was supposed to be the highlighting of tag team wrestling. And I would argue that even the men's tag team divisions are fine. They could be better. Especially the stories, I feel like we've seen Young Bucks versus Fuck the Revolution like a million times, and I don't know that story has really changed or evolved that much from their first meeting through to their whatever fucking fifth or sixth match they're about to have upcoming. But then you look at the women's tag team division now. Obviously, Jade Cargill, huge steal from AEW, looks like an absolute stud in WWE. But yeah, you have Bianca and Jade Cargill now as, women's tag team champions. They look like such a dominating presence that it is elevating those tag titles, and they are creating viable opponents for them. And so now all of a sudden, again, it's not enough to have, just one tag team is going to go up against Bianca. No, let's have literally we saw on Raw and then on SmackDown, the way that you have the two separate tag teams of Shayna and Zoe Stark and Isla Dawn and Alba Fire attacking the individual members of the tag team while they're already in a tag team match with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, who they already have beef with, right? So it's now you're creating all of these rivalries where, again, the central figure is, hey, all of these teams want those tag team championships that makes them desirable, and it elevates the titles even further. Again, beyond the fact that they're just on Jade and Bianca, it's the fact that you have actual opponents chasing them. And you look at some of the tag teams now that we have available, besides, again, we just mentioned Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, which is like a true women's tag team, came up straight from NXT to the main roster together, basically. And it's, well, kind of innocent. I know they had their own separate runs, but like they're like a tag team, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not two, like with Shayna and Zoe Stark, that's two single stars put together in a tag team that can work. But like Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, that's a tag team. You look at Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, they've had a relationship forever. That's a tag team. You look at even Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, who are being featured right now in the women's title scene with Bayley. So that's even better because now they've been elevated to a serious threat, and you could have a meaningful feud just between those two teams of Bianca and Jade versus Piper Niven, who's a physical threat, and Chelsea Green, who's a mental threat. And you get a different dynamic of team there. Nia Jax could easily find herself a partner and throw herself into this ring of competitors. So there's like a lot going on, and it's great because it's featuring such a large portion of the women's roster that has been so that previously was ignored for so long. So I love what they're cooking up with the women's tag team titles, and the fact that they're able to appear on both shows, I think, is interesting as well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the production team and the booking team, obviously, and how they're handling right now, currently, the women's tag team divisions. Ooh, totes up. And let's get into the last segment and get the hell out of here so I can go have some dinner. All right. Shout out again to my guy, SC Romero. There's no way Penta goes to WWE because Lucha Bros are Gold Elite Tag Team. If I'm Penta, I'm not going to WWE for a completely different reason, and it's because I'm looking hard at Andrade and how his run has been since he returned to WWE, and I'm wondering why my run would be any different. I'm not trying to leave AEW so I can go be the Twitter speed champion. Like, what the fuck? And then he also said Grace and Mommy versus Bianca and Jade. Yeah, that would be crazy. That's like some fantasy booking. I don't think that one actually, I don't know how that one would actually ever come together in a match, but that would be crazy to see, like, just the physical spectacle of Jordynne Grace and Rhea Ripley versus Bianca and Jade. You know what's actually, the way you do that is you have Rhea Ripley, when she comes back, is going to be on a face run because, again, Rhea and Roman are both coming back to huge face runs. I think we all know that, and I think they know that. But if you have Rhea win the title back from Liv and Jordynne Grace still has the NXT Women's Championship, you could theoretically set up something at like a Survivor Series down the road where it's just pure, again, like pure fantasy booking. But yeah, let's get into the main segment. And like I said, let's all fuck off to dinner. Clash at the Castle. Let me pull this up actually because I stupidly only wrote down the main event, which I'm excited for. So the reason I wrote down the main event, we'll work backwards here actually. Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles with this I Quit match. This is going to sound a little crazy, but I want Cody Rhodes to drop the title. I think they have a possibility for a really storyline. I put this out on Twitter, and There were a couple. I got some feedback of like, oh shit, that's like that's a good storyline. So this is how I would do it. All right. Obviously, it's an I quit match now, so you have to force Cody to say I quit. And I've seen the theories that bounded about online immediately were kind of similarly to the way that they were able to pay homage to the Mark Henry segment with the fake retirement. You could do a similar thing in the actual match with Edge and the Judgment Day. So if you guys remember that I quit match, basically Judgment Day, aka Rhea Ripley, forced Edge to say I quit because they were going to concerto Beth Phoenix. They did it anyways after the match, which was like supposed to really like cement them as heels and be like a crazy moment. And it was. I don't want to undersell that, but I'm just saying the idea of putting someone in danger like that to force Cody to have to quit to save that person as opposed to himself, because you know that in kayfabe, like there's nothing you could do to Cody to make him quit, but 100% you could fuck with Cody by putting somebody else in danger. And the obvious answer that people went with was Brandy Rhodes. If Brandy or if Mama Rhodes is at the show, either of them could fill that role. But here's where I think it would actually be real interesting, all right? And it's a little bit more work because you essentially need a child actor in a sense. You need a plan. And what I would do though is I would make it a kid, like a 10 to 12-year-old kid, and he'd be a plant, and he'd be like a Cody Rhodes fan, and he would be in like the front row. You could have and then what you do is you have this thing of, Cody Rhodes does this thing online a lot where like people will be like, oh, I don't have money to be able to even go to the show or whatever. So like you can even do it, and it's in Scotland. It's so perfect. Fuck, have like a little Scottish kid, and have the announcing crew or like some backstory of like, Cody Rhodes has fans all over the world, and this fan here has never been able to afford to go to a WWE event. This is their first ever WWE event. They're here to support Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes paid for their ticket, blah, blah, blah. You really sell, again, the connection. When Cody comes out, you have him give the kid a big hug, the works. Really, like, again. And then, so, you have AJ come out, fucking even have AJ flip the kid off right away just to kind of give the foreshadowing of. So you go through the whole rigmarole of the match, you get to the end of it, and basically you have you have the Good Brothers come out, and they're interrupting and stuff, and they're all beating up Cody, and Cody still won't give up. And so the Good Brothers, AJ's like, grab him, and they're holding him, and AJ goes and he grabs the kid out of the crowd, and he makes it seem like he's gonna hurt the kid. And all of a sudden Cody's like, oh my God, I didn't see this, I give up. And so he loses the title, and then you theoretically could have even like, first of all, just like the idea of that story, the way Cody is with the fans, the way that's going to give AJ just absolute maximum heel heat, like that's some crazy shit. But then you have the rematch now set up for SummerSlam also, where, obviously Cody won at Backlash, you have AJ win at Clash, and now you have Cody win the title back at SummerSlam. Now he's a 2-time champion. You could even have the fucking kid show up again at SummerSlam and be in the crowd, and AJ tries to fuck with him again, and except this time it cost him the match. And like, there's so many ways you could go with it, but ultimately, that's my long-winded booking and fantasy booking that's never going to happen in a million fucking years. But I don't really care how they do it. I just want to see AJ Styles win, get a little title run in, and lose it at SummerSlam back to Cody, so that Cody can be a 2-time champion, and then he can carry it to SummerSlam. He can carry it to WrestleMania and do whatever the fuck he wants. I don't give a shit. All right. But yeah, that's probably going to be the main event. I'm assuming that's going to be the main event. Bayley versus Piper Niven for the WWE Women's Championship. I already said before, I'm a huge fan of Chelsea Green, not just as, Piper Niven's partner. I think they have a great dynamic together, but also just as a managerial figure. So I definitely think that's going to play in to the match. I expect some involvement, some interruptions from Chelsea Green, but I'd be pretty surprised if they put the belt on Piper. I think if the only thing that gives me cause for pause is Bayley, I feel like in the back, like in terms of her actual like personality, if there was a wrestler on the roster that would want to put Piper Niven over in her home country, I could see it being Bayley. You know what? We're going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to predict Piper Niven wins that title in Scotland. I think they're going to do both. Something funky is going to happen with Drew. That one I'm not so sure he actually gets out of there with the title. But I think the way that you mitigate that, if I'm predicting that Drew is going to have something funky and he doesn't get the title, I think you mitigate that as a booker in my mind by having Piper Niven win the title so that the crowd is a little bit less pissed off at you when Drew does not win the title, if that makes sense. Like if CM Punk is going to come out and cost Drew the title and really piss off the crowd, you're going to have Cody and AJ after that. I think you could even separate it. You could have Drew and Damian start the show, and then that way you have Piper Niven win it in between. You get kind of that momentum back from the crowd, and then you do whatever you want with Cody and AJ at the end. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Maybe that's a little bit of wish casting, but fuck it. We're going to predict Piper Niven. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship. Chad Gable has to win this fucking match. I am a huge Sami Zayn stan. Do not get me wrong. I love Sami Zayn. I love him as a human being. I love him as a professional wrestler. I love Sami Zayn. I'm from the Montreal area. I went to the Bell Center just so I could see him defend that Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable, knowing in the back of my mind there's no fucking way they're having him lose in Montreal. But that's the thing. He's defended it now. He's had it since WrestleMania. He's had a decent little run with the Intercontinental Championship. There is no reason for Sami to keep holding this title. There is a fucking huge reason for Chad Gable to get this title. Chad needs the title at this point to just straight up justify his heel turn and this whole story that they're telling with Otis. And I'm hoping and I'm thinking and I'm expecting that Otis is going to be involved in the finish and is actually going to cost Sami Zayn the title finally this time. And, unwillingly, but I think this time it's going to happen and Chad Gable is going to get that belt. And we're going to get just some fantastic shit from Chad Gable. Heel Chad Gable parading around with that championship giving coaching advice is going to make for fantastic fucking television. So yeah, I'm 100. This is probably the one I would say I'm the most confident in, especially because just knowing Sami Zayn as well, and again what he brings to the table and how he feels about things in the back. That just to me seems like, yeah, I think Chad Gable's 100% getting this title. We also have hang on a second. I feel like we're missing one for sure. Okay. Got that. Oh, right. I forgot they added so it's been added for sure is WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. So it's going to be a triple threat tag team match. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Yeah, there's no fucking way Bianca and Jade are dropping those titles right now. So that's lock, stock, 2 smoke and barrel. That's easy peasy. And then just looking here, some other predictions. Not actually on the card yet, but a lot of people are expecting United States Championship match to go down, which would be Logan Paul versus LA Knight. They might push that to SummerSlam because they've been doing a lot of these 5-match cards. We might not actually see anything else get added to Clash. So I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to go with what's officially on the card. We're going to end with the World Heavyweight Championship match between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. And, man, I keep going back and forth on this one. I think Bisexual Undertaker comes out with the title, though. Even though they're in Scotland, it's kind of the story that they've been telling this whole time with Drew. And I think he is really banking too hard on the fact that they're going to be in Scotland. And I think that's supposed to be, again, part of the story is his hubris, meaning he's so proud that, like, you know, pride goeth before the fall, that, you know, he's so cocky that that's what keeps fucking him over. I mean, that's what fucked him over at WrestleMania when he can't just walk away with the title that he's won and earned. He's got to go, you know, pose all fucking weird on the announce table in front of CM Punk and then ultimately get punked and lose his title. So I think CM Punk is going to get involved in this somehow. I think Damian Priest is going to sneak out of Clash of the Castle with the World Heavyweight Championship. And, you know, it has not – I feel like people are kind of shitting on his run a little bit more than they should be. But I also understand that, you know, it hasn't been like the most enthralling World Heavyweight Championship run. And they've basically set up now it's, you know, Braun Strowman after that. I don't know if Braun Strowman's going to be the one that takes the title off of Damian Priest. You know, I could see them just. Here's the thing. This is the only caveat I'll say is if Bayley and Piper Niven are early enough in the show and they just have Bayley win in a pretty straightforward fashion, I think there's a chance that Drew McIntyre actually gets the title. And I think they could create a situation where. So the only way I could see it happening, and it's because there's 2 kind of stories that they've been telling. There's an underlying story with Damian Priest and, you know, the discontent within the Judgment Day, and kind of, you know, who's really the ultimate leader of the group, and like all the disharmony within the group, I think, comes to a head at Clash of the Castle, because I could see that being the thing of like CM Punk comes out to cost Drew the match, and Judgment Day somehow, whether they're trying to stop CM Punk or, you know, whether they cause like another extra distraction that's like not needed, like somehow CM Punk would have got it for Damian Priest, but then Judgment Day is going to somehow fuck up, and it's going to almost flip it right back to where, oh, well, now Drew gets the advantage, and Drew ends up actually getting that title. Because, again, this is depending on the timeline of CM Punk. If CM Punk is going to be back by SummerSlam, you would assume they want to do Drew versus CM Punk for the title. So that's pretty much my thoughts on that. I'm going to predict final prediction, even though I said the Piper Niven thing earlier. You know what? Final prediction, I'm going with Drew. I think everything I just said is kind of what comes to fruition a little bit. CM Punk gets involved. Judgment Day gets involved. A lot of fuckery in this match, but I think Drew gets away with that title. Drew and Punk is a huge feud right now. Makes for a great first match with Punk. That's right. Like I said, I think at SummerSlam, very possible they could end up going against each other. And then again, eventually I think Finn has a feud with Priest. I don't know if it's for the belt, but if you want to continue a feud with Finn Balor where you don't even necessarily need the belt, you could just do it for, hey, who's the true leader of Judgment Day? So they're basically having a match for Judgment Day, which is funny because we all know the actual leader is Rhea Ripley. That's just like one possibility that I see. But yeah, I do think they're it's so tough because I could see the other way where, like I said, they just fuck over Drew. But no, I think Drew gets this title, and I think they're setting up Drew versus CM Punk, hopefully at SummerSlam, for the World Heavyweight Championship. That is it for me, man. Huge shout out to my guy, S.C. Romero, the PPR show. I've had him on the show before. I will have him on again in the future. Shout out to all of you guys watching out there. I can see 30 little eyeballs. Whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. I appreciate you. If you could head over to the YouTube, it would really help me. If you could super kick that subscribe button, share the post around, all that bullshit. Really helps. This is a hobby channel for me, so I don't do like the ads and the reads and the bullshit. If you want to help support the channel, it's the only way to do it. Subscribe, comment, send some dumb questions. But guys, until the next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.
My positive contact results in affirmative impact. Never polarized on raps. I'm never primitive, but cannibalistic, vicious. Characteristics, hereditary potency. Empathetic genes, yo. Able to eat MCs at extraordinary speed. Some of me is like slipping and razor blades and grease in your bare feet. I see your fucking colleagues misprise you very much to your dismay. So today, I can say you won't be running away. Hold your tail between your legs. I'm gonna advocate when you feel with flow stakes. I'll take a hacksaw to you cockeyed mumble rap slack jaws. Leave you shredded on the side like some coleslaw. Then double time with that clothesline from hell like Bradshaw. I'm toxic like septic shock. A dying breed like